tag on the best don't come. But still nobody better than you. You sensual with venom until thy kingdom come. Eternally achieve. Let me show you where I come from.
This show start a shock. This show
shock one time. First tune.
First tune, one time. Right?
One time.
As I tell people, this is not a sit down.
Hey boy, me and good loving in one. Me and the police for good loving. When my all good love, me penalize and charge for sweetness. Run things. Now here we got wrong the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we got wrong the mulberry bush, and me go wait until them come watch it. Tender loving up it die, enough it die. Tender loving up it, enough it die. Tender loving up it die, enough it die. Tender loving up it die, 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 die.
This is my favorite.
I love me, love for the girl, them a call Pamela Chicky. Love for the girl, them a call Brenda. Never give me the good loving in any hour. Not give me the good loving anytime that me want. When I come up in him, I love her shit. Please, baby, don't you ever leave me. Then the love him, Mr. Give and me sauce and I eat. Not the sauce from the pot that me mother gave me. But the sauce and I me want bigger than what they gave me. Now you love them, them a comfy soothe your body. And look when I say no one that you would done pony. Then the love enough it die, enough it die, then the love enough it. Enough it die, and the love enough it die, enough it die, and the love enough it die, the good loving, driving me crazy, but them can't take the sweetness out of me. Listen me good, and she keep walk a mile and a half, yes me walk a mile and a half, and they go run so wrong and let me go down. When me there's something that is inside, when I'm take a give my like the boom sound, listen for the engine if I make my sister pull up, then the love enough it die, enough it die, then the love enough it die, then the love enough it die, enough it die, then the love enough it die, then the love enough it die, then the love enough it die, enough it die, then the love enough it die, enough it die, then the love enough it die, enough it die, then the love enough it die, enough it die, then the love enough it the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush, and me go wait until them come. Cause if a bad bush you come from, you know you come dead. Me not prefer take a man, me want a woman instead. Me wanna make them time, me wanna make them feel. Me just want give them the good loving until them drop there. Follow me, the girl that me ask for. Follow me, give me the girl that me ball for. Follow me, bring the girl that me call for. Tender loving up it die, enough it die. Tender loving up it, enough it die. Tender loving up it die, enough it die. Tender loving up it die. I love me walk a mile and a half. Yes me walk a mile and a half. And me good loving serum now let me cool.
Is walk a mile and a half? You saying that?
The same start cup. Make my system cool off. Then the loving up it die, enough it die. Then the loving up it die.
That's like what happened in Parliament today. It's like democracy after that. So welcome Trinidad and Tobago region, the world, all the faithful, those who here a long time and who always inside, and those who join us for the first time because of what we're doing here tonight. Welcome to Indigenous TNT, your home for underground Trinidad and Tobago music. Normally we play all the music that the other 36 radio stations don't play. We mainstream the local underground and globalized Trinbago sound. We play Trinidad and Tobago rock, EDMs, zest, rap, soul, hip hop, dub, reggae, EDM, the full works, all the other styles of music that you don't hear and that kind of stuff and thing. We just coming out 2 weeks where we put down where we did Nicki Minaj's Cousins Friends Ball, right? Or soiree or gala, there were two, of course, you have to have two. And they were two big balls one big ball split into two. Well, anyway.
Two. Yeah, we split it into two.
We were looking at Trinidad and Tobago international music, and we'd look at dozens of artists, Grammy Award winning, gold and platinum things, artists who influence global music, all kinds of stuff. Trinis, all of them. When they add everything together, it's more than about 350 million records sold, about 5 Grammys and enough international awards and that kind of stuff, and real impact, right? Trinidadians and stuff, and we played about 45 songs or something like that amongst in the mix, right? And this week, right, we going from that international, we going straight to home to one of our greatest ever. We're going to talk and play the music of the genius Sheldon Shell Shock Benjamin, spelt with a $. Remember, right? Shell, H-E-L, $, H-O, right? Don't get it twisted, right? Born 1969, passed June 2009, only 40 years old. Over 300 hits. You hear what I'm telling you? This
300 hits.
This youth changed Trinidad and Tobago music at least 5 times, right? I mean, I'd say completely change Trinidad and Tobago music, right? There is no modern Trinidad and Tobago popular music without Shell Shock. It doesn't exist, right? We would still be in folk. We would still be in that space.
Rhythm section on this space.
Yeah, we would do
Congos.
We would have still been listening to that level of production and that kind of stuff and thing. If it wasn't for the intervention of Shell Shock, and the context, of course, of his intervention is Robert Amar, Caribbean Song Basin, and the Kiskadee Caravan, where Robert Amar took $37 million of his own money and invested it in the youth of the nation. So much so that most of the people in the caravan, 65% plus and that kind of stuff, had police record charges, stuff. Some even had to kind of evade a little something, a little capture to play some concerts and to whatever and that kind of stuff. The reform of a generation happened because of that, and we will talk about the impact of that, and we will listen to that impact of the man Sheldon Benjamin. But I want to give you some of it in his words, some of his life and that kind of stuff. This is Shell Shock, Sheldon Benjamin, talking to me for my magazine, Generation Lion, back in 2003. See, I was born at the Seventh-day Adventist Hospital in Cocorito in June 1969. I like telling people that I'm not born from the ghetto. I was born in Pittsburgh on the main road, moved to Bowen Street in Tunapuna, then to Noel Street, St. John's. We then swung down to St. Augustine and moved to Aranguez. Pause, breathe in, breathe out. Then I moved to Curep, then Tacarigua, Cane Farm, back to Tunapuna. Then, of course, we moved to Macoya Gardens. Then I went to Quadro apartment building in Victoria Square. Then I was in Queens, New York for 3 years. Now I live in Valsayn. All in all, a settled childhood and youth. Right? So, despite the thing with Queens, New York, and the little Quadro apartments and that kind of stuff, basically, so Shock is a Eastman, right? He's an Eastman, that era, Tunapuna, that area around Tacarigua, bam, 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 them could claim Shock, right? And the thing is, people would know Shock was a DJ, first of all, and that's really where he honed the ability, sound, listening, his ear, and that kind of stuff. He was an incredible DJ, but he used to work on tapes and mix tapes and that kind of stuff, and that's where he started developing things. And it happened just like how hip hop happened, which is men taking funky original tracks and that kind of stuff, and then building new things on top of it, building beats, building stuff on top of it and thing, embellishing and those kinds of stuff. And that's how he got his genius, right? So he worked at electro songs in the East. Everybody, I think any people in the East would remember electro songs that way go for mixtapes. That's
Yep.
where this when cassette.
Yeah. Cassette.
This is
Cassette.
before all your MP3 and digital generation will understand these things. We're talking a different planet here, right? We're talking cassettes and that kind of thing, TDK cassettes and whatnot and that kind of stuff and thing. And Shock refined his stuff, working on that, building his stuff out and his mixes, hip hop and reggae mixes on cassettes and stuff. He moved from electro songs where he built his brand, and he moved to air traffic control.
Ooh,
To master
ETC,
mixing.
air traffic control. Yes.
Yeah. That's another big one, right?
Yeah.
This is foundation stuff with Shock before he got the call from Robert Amar. And let me tip we hat to Robert Amar, because the thing is that, let me tell you, Amar could have invested at $37 million, could have had the studio, could have pulled all the same artists and whatever. But you see, without Shell Shock, none of what happens next happens. That is the importance of Shell Shock. There is no understating that there is Trinidad and Tobago music before and Trinidad and Tobago after Shell Shock. I will get emotional during this session. I'm telling you that and stuff. I wasn't close to Shock all the time throughout the whole thing. I'm not one of those people who indebted to him because he did music with me and that kind of stuff. We started to work together until we never finished any of the things that we started and that kind of stuff. I just love the brother. And we got very, very close in the end. Close to the end. Because I love this catalog and his legacy. And I found he wasn't being treated well. And I very early on saw that he was ill. He was visibly ill. He was visibly, his skin, everything, and that was that. And none of the people who had made millions and whatever, and people who had sit around him and stuff, had taken him on and handled him and, with his health and that kind of stuff. And I just took him in and I was like, yo, what's going on? And he told me, I have the money short and that kind of stuff. I said, like, yo, partner, I'm going to give you money and you're going to go, because something obviously is wrong. Something is wrong. You have to go and deal with this. You can't just, at that time, we were doing very good. We were doing very good as a business and stuff like that. So I offered him a good bit of money to go in and whatever. He said, nah, hold on to that thing. I will deal with it. Thing. So Shock, deal with it. Whatever. He came back to me about a month and a half, probably 2 months later. In that time, real things happened in my life. As an activist, dreadness has happened very quickly. And dreadness had happened. They came after me in real dread ways. And when he came and stuff and thing, I didn't have the kind of money that and stuff, but I still gave him like $15,000 or something at the time. What we had and stuff. I said, Shock, go and deal with it. And he got the first part of his diagnosis, right? It hadn't been caught all the way, which was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which he would eventually die. But he started to get treatment and started to deal with it in some way, form, or fashion. I'm saying all this as a lead up and that kind of stuff because it's a very human story of genius and how Trinidad and Tobago treats its genius, which is a ongoing theme if you've been listening to Indigenous. You have plenty of music to go through and that kind of stuff, but it's anchored by this very human story of this man who gave us so much. 300 and something hits. We're just going to play a fraction of them tonight. But when he needed us, a lot of us weren't there, and this is another part of indictment on us is that we can't do that. we can't do that to our best. We can't wait till it's too late, and when they have a spotlight. It's in the shadows when the man on the side of the road and nobody looking. That is when you need it, prodigal son, good Samaritan. That's when you need it. And so I say that to say that the moral of the story, there's a moral to the story, right? In the life and passing of this genius. I don't want to start with a downer and all this kind of stuff and things, but we had to tell that story. But anyway, I started with the Cheeky because I told you that was my favorite, right? That's my favorite track from that early part of the thing. It's something about this rawness and that boom, 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 boom. I mean that bass and that kind of stuff and that energy. But everything had a beginning, and Shell Shock's beginning and Kiskitty Caravan's beginning could not be more hardcore and more dread and more page turning than it was. Each one of the tracks and each one of the artists took the adventure of Trinidad and Tobago music in another direction, and it grabbed it by Nicki Minaj's cousins, friends, handle, and took it down those directions. And we're gonna play those tracks that began the adventure, right? So the first one the woman. We had to give woman the bly all the time and that kind of stuff, and let the woman go first. So we have to start with the beautiful, sexy, the Sister Run. The Sister Runner come. Sister Run and General Grant. The beginning of the Kiskitty Caravan. No compromise.
Good thing, man. Good thing.
Sister run a come. Let's want to put them, let's want to put them girls. Another black, hitchy a dick, come on. You know, black is a game and I am around one of you. If you think I'm going to ask, get your ass in the front. Get very excited. I think very excited. We're open up my vocals to a shot.
Good thing, man. Good thing.
Sister run a come. Sister run with the baba. Sister run, you see the sister run a come.
Flow like rain. Every single one of these.
Another black, hitchy a dick, come on. You know, black is a game and I am around one of you. If you think I'm moving too fast and get your ass made run from me. Kicking the lyrics like this, I'm kicking the lyrics like that. We're open up my vocals to a shot track. It's like this, it's like that, yo. I'm having a damn ball. You can get me to stop with a round of applause. I don't give a damn. I deal with the back, someone like kicking a fucking the lyrics. So all the brothers that got my back, I'm a sister who can sink into a song, get down. Like the funky James Brown, I'm strong. It's not one you can't speak to, so get up, set up and rock, so you know what I can do.
You never see she, you never hear she, but yeah she come. With a bye, you never see she, you never hear she, yeah she come. Put them in, never run. This all my top celebrity, run. And this all my VIP, run. Everybody them a fall out for she, run. All the cat with the Mr. Rock and fall out in the party, in the party, make the man follow me, come down.
Diggity duck, I'm so I can rock. I'm taking lyrics and kicking it from the bottom to the top. You wanted to fuck with me just because I am a sister who wants to kick the lyrics in such a way that I can diss you. Never ever playing, never ever delay. My sister on has got to keep the crowd swaying, moving and grooving and grooving. And the definitely too. And sister on is in effect, and I'm the one that you ain't choosing. You wanted to talk truths, well I got two sheet. You're from the Caribbean to be exact, Trinity. And for the ones who ain't down, son, I'm letting y'all know that it's the run out.
You never see she, you never hear she, yeah she come. Put a bye, you never see she, you never hear she, yeah she come. Follow me now, me walk. Sister run a come, she come. Sister run a come,
Yeah. Run. Wherever you are, girls. I still love you. Right, so So yeah, the thing is that let me get straight. It had real fight down. Amar was brought down from inside. They had some serious issues, some management issues, mid-management issues, and that kind of stuff. They had some guys and that kind of stuff that, money, whatever, that kind of stuff. And they didn't manage the stuff, ting. That's all well and good. And the enterprise costs money. It's a 37 million spent, right? This is in the 90s, right? Million mean million at that time, not like how it mean now, right? But other than that, the fight down from the radio mafia, the owners of all the other stations and stuff, and then fight down from other capitalists and stuff who find that, this Indian businessman, this black picnic, ting, was that one making millions, changing up everything, it causing it changing things like it in a way that's uncomfortable. It had a real fight down, serious fight down. Part of the fight down is musical. They had stations and stuff after a certain thing when shot was called, never play any music coming out from the Kiskadi caravan and the caravan again and stuff. DJs in fets as well as on the radio and that kind of stuff. Complete blanket and stuff and thing. Complete shut out and that kind of stuff and thing. Right? How many all you have real fight down, the thing start and that kind of thing. From a time when every station you're playing, you're hearing it and that kind of stuff because it's what the youths want. The youths want to hear the music and that kind of stuff and thing until real fight down and that kind of stuff. And of course, just 3 years, 3 years was the impact of all of this stuff and that kind of thing, Now, the power of the music was that in the underground, it was still moving and that kind of stuff, so that a lot of DJs and stuff finally, eventually, much later in the late 90s, early 2000s, later on started to feel like, okay, they had to play the music. They had to play the old Kiskadi stuff now. And also because they could play it now because they mash up Amara, they mash up the thing. So it's safe to play the music now. It's non-threatening and that kind of stuff. But even inside of that, they just rewrite the history and they'll play everybody else and stuff, but they would leave out this group. And for just that reason, and because of a whole set of other things, I will play this group and a lot of their tunes tonight and that kind of stuff. Because leave out, this group was the biggest group. Now, yes, Granty and stuff and thing and Grant had the streets and whatever, but this group was the group that was mashing up effects and stuff and dropping things and that kind of stuff and changing the temperature in the country and changing the carnival music and all this kind of stuff. This is the group when people start to hear, wait, now you could do that in a Trini. We could do that with a Trini accent. We could actually flow like that. This group is the one that started to change people's minds and head and spirit. And them other DJs, even now when they run the Kiskadi thing, they don't play this group. And they don't play their music and that kind of stuff. I will play the flicking music. And you will start to play the music again. Because the music have heat. And we'll show you that. Run Kindred. The thing that changed the thing. This tree could flow. The beginning of the Rapsor Revolution. Number 3.
Good thing, man. Good thing.
Did you know? This Tanika flow. Did you know? This Tanika damn well flow. Did you know? This Tanika flow. Did you know? Stop. Bring the intro. Stop. It just come again and we bring a brand new vibe, a brand new style of rap, so from a brand new type of tribe. Take the drum of Africa and give it all we play. Be the vibe of a rap, they going down the landslide. Play slow, they slow how we rap so it can roll. So if they come to show them what we do, they didn't know. And all of the nation, they just come and gather round. So listen to the rap, so with the rock and rugged sound. You know, this
I can't overestimate the impact that this song had on youths in Trinidad and Tobago when they heard that we could do it on our own, songing like us with our own spirit, our own voices, our own tools. I can't understand. I can't.
Did you know? This Janika flow. Did you know? This Janika damn well flow. Did you know? This Janika flow. Did you know? Stop. Bring the intro. Stop. It just come again, and we bring a brand new vibe, a brand new style of rap. So from a brand new type of tribe, take the drum of Africa and give it all we can. Feel the vibe of a rap. They going down the lands one play. Slow. The slow down the rap so it can. So keep them come to show them what we do. They didn't know. And all at the nation they just come and gather round. So listen to the rap. So with the rock and rugged sound. Did you know? This Janika flow. Did you know? This Janika damn well flow. Did you know? This Janika flow. Did you know? Stop. Come there we go. Stop. People at the world, kill the power at the drum. See how the ground shake when the rap so man a come. It's just a tune vibration to African rhythm. You're begging for the music, so I reach to get you some. You somehow you really want some. So pretenders on the run by the time the song is done. Come to the vibe, let me get you a taste and wash it down with music while the people move their ways. Did you know? This Janika flow. Did you know? Damn well. This Janika flow. Did you know? Akine, come here we go.
Step into the show that I can flow. Got rhymes in my mind, from my throat to my throat. Another black man like you on to go. On the conscious tip, offensive blow. The song was doing like us, we simply offer no contestants. When we step into the gym, we simply offer our best. Understand the black man on the black tip, instead the other man on the voodoo chip. We simply rapping a jam, understand two black men can you get preach, teach and rally, can they and no marry. So now I flip some styles on the fluent tip. I'm gonna lose my rap flavor, use my regular.
You hear?
I'm coming with the power of one. You're coming like a giant in a bundy rhythm. Another black brother bring it to the tempo. And this is just to show you that the stringy boy can flow.
Did you know? This Janika go. Did you know? This Janika damn well. Did you know? This Janika flow.
Quentin Akinde Gooden. Thank you, brothers, for releasing the voice, the power of the word and the rhythm of the word. Salute to Brother Resistance, spirit of the second wave of rap. So Lancelot playing the first wave of rap. So Kindred, the third wave, that would change things. We could talk about all them changes and that kind of stuff. But we're still dealing with that, the power of shock and the different chambers that he unleashed with that first No Compromise album. No Compromise. This group now, right? I consider all these things rap. So by the way, Grant, Ron, and this next group and what they're doing, right? You go run two of their songs and stuff. I consider it all that rap, sir. Even though men have a little accent, little thing in it and that kind of whatever, and the beat they're flexing over. To me, all of it is rap. So all this is Trini flow. But let me let the music speak for itself. This is the next chamber. So you hear the run chamber, you hear the rap so chamber, hear the next chamber, shock, drop it.
Alright, see brothers and sisters, understand that I'm black. Taking the mic now, cause it's time for me to pack the G-A-U-G-E-O, serving up the juice. You wanted a better, but nevertheless, I'ma get loose. Kick yourself and tell me what I'ma do. I'ma take the mic and I'ma tell it to you. Be true, I'ma tell it to you. Yes, I said right here we are a brand new crew. And every time we come and traffic come. Okay, I said right here we'll be the more champion.
Everybody know we are the champions. Champions. All the masses know we are the champions. We sit up on the rhythm and the pattern. We sit up on the bass and the version. We got to go dance up around. Coming that they get because they know you know my one now.
One jet, absolute number one. Right get a right, wrong get a wrong. Who save a life?
We must get up and try get strong. We tell them try get strong.
Alright, yo, my walk they flow. Sometimes fast, or maybe sometimes slow. So ain't no time to get cold. And if you like that, you better jail in the bum hole. Cause on the road for gold, I stroll. Keep it fake in the rhymes I roll. Fools get hyped up, vibes are right up. In case you for the flex of the hype up. But ain't no need to get up on the body like a coconut. So keep this face of face and not. Here comes a brother that's black and proud. With crazy knowledge and speaking loud. Special shout outs to my homeboy Halo. Who cut in a beat up sorta like Lego.
Round and round.
champion we are. It's all about young originators of roughness.
We're going to zoom one time. We transition to Ghettorians again. Next track. This one more on the funk hip hop. That one was a crossover, but this slow.
Zoom, 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 Zaya. Ghettorians, them don't play ya. Zoom, 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 Zaya. If it is, we'll blow your way.
Alright, check it, I came to wreck it. You unexpected, it's so fat you can't eject it. Pulling all the brothers like pros for sex time. Shooting off my lyrics like a brand new tech nine. Yeah, guns be busting for my tools. My shit moves, rising up and up like hot air balloons. So if a talker try to test, I'ma trap them. Beat them face to face, then I'ma take them out. Cause I hate the boasting and bragging. But if you wanna test them, you can enter the dragon. Where my points be hitting harder than a Mack truck. Where I'm a butcher and you be getting chopped up. This man is mad and glad is glad. Now it's sad to see that you wasn't a tall man. Cause I'm always ready and waiting for a good fight. And if I can't take it, I'ma out your life. So do you really want to come test me? So do you really want to come test me? Permanent, come. Alla we together, my pia, get over here, now we no player. And I just say we get Babylon, gonna read them my feature, punch down, see live long. Well, as I go with the thunder, I know that you will wonder, cause when I get in the I kill it, stop just like chapter to chapter. I mean, out that description, will send down like the rain, will I get thunder from Jaja. Listen to my exposure, cause I'm breaking the force. The woman in Mr. Siama, not teacher Rasta. From all the Gaga, you negro prosa. You know in your mind, you stupid motherfucker. And I can be a killer, like I'm Ocho's nigga. They're gonna suck us to death time, and deliver. And I'm on the freight, can we be taking over? To all of your traitors, those are the tell you, cause the menace. But I can kill a assassinator. See, we waited too long, but we can take it no longer. Yeah, to swing with a swing, you definitely got to be a killer. Don't sign up. Don't sign up. Easy got it, get it, as you know you want it. Easy got it, as you know you want it. Easy hit it, as you know you want it. Oh no, you can't fit, I'll show you what it is. Well, I broke you with my AK.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, the whole crew from Ghettorians there, back to back. 2 tunes and that kind of stuff that open up the space for all the chambers for urban black Trinidad and Tobago song opened up with these things, right? And it said that these were valid and they were modern and they were happening now, right? And it was dancehall. It was immediately dancehall. This is the period of the golden age of hip hop. This is everything from Slick Rick and Public Enemy and Run DMC and Fat Boys and everything else and stuff happening. You know what I mean? This is, you know, some of the fattest stuff, you know, Rakim, all that stuff and thing happening and that kind of stuff, and this dropping on top of that. This is the beginning of dancehall starting to get more sophisticated and that kind of stuff. This is what this music competing against in terms of the sonic landscape of what the young people listening to and that kind of stuff, where people not listening to calypso and not listening to soca are drifting away because of the sound of production and the sound and that kind of stuff. When this is a period when production values in those other musics accelerate and the experiments and the innovation happening at a phenomenal pace, and we just had not matched that. Right, our sound was 20, 30 years out of date, you know, and we were playing with that kit, and then shock comes, and part of it is that he listened to what they're doing, but if you listen to what he's doing, he's not aping their thing, he's stripping down the song completely and getting down to the essentials of what each one of those musics kind of mean, right? So it's really, his thing is just that bass and that drum, and just these other sonic elements inside there to create mood and those kinds of stuff. But his understanding of the bass and the drum so incredible, and he given it swing, he given it Trinidad and Tobago swing inside of there as well. And so all these things happening, and so he's not one of them producers that they call who would just imitate whatever they're playing outside there and just give you a beat from whoever and that kind of stuff and imitate that. No, he wasn't doing that. He was in his own thing. He was alone in that place where rhythm comes from, operating with the gods of song and putting it down straight from the source. And that is the difference. And of course, the other track inside that mix that dropped with that whole set was General Grant and Shot Call. And but we played that last week and we played it once before. And I don't want to, play tracks again and again. And we have so much tracks to play, So that was 92 when all of this dropped, right? This is the beginning of that golden age for that generation. All the time, what happening on the ground is youth starting to wear Trinidad and Tobago brands. So the brands that people were running down wasn't running down with Adidas and Gap and Gucci and whatever the brands people is wear, jeans and whatever thing now and that kind of stuff. People was running down the cloth, Homewood Alpha, First Chapter Adam, Claudia Pigas, the woman running down Claudia Pigas and that kind of stuff to wear in fets and whatever, as the brands to wear. The cut of the clothes and that kind of stuff was the most modern. It was Afrofuturism. It was beyond what was happening in the States and that kind of stuff. Carl Kanye and them thing hadn't come out yet. There was Carl Kanye and stuff before them things. You know what I mean? This was out there design and that kind of thing, and people were wearing it and stuff. All the young artists and stuff was wearing that on the stage and those kind of things, And you had the rock music starting to happen. Oddfellows Local dropping Arrest, right after the football and that kind of stuff. You had the footballers and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we had all those things. November 19th, 93. It could have been a one-hit wonder. That album could have just been something and a flash in the pan, Yeah, we all worked up and hot and sweaty, and then after that thing, but no, because the weapon wasn't the 37 million, and the weapon wasn't. The artists were good, but as we'd realized and stuff there, those artists were always there, right? Amar brought them to the Oasis, and they drank, but the water was shock. The water was Sheldon Benjamin shock. In 93, lightning struck again in the same place. I played Chicky at the top because that Carnage boy, Poet Kumana, pick up, played Chicky. And I said, them boys came with cases, right? And Amar switched them and take them in another direction. KMC, all them boys, them take all that kind of stuff and thing, and he switch it up and that kind of stuff. When all your mafia destroyed that, what you also destroyed was the get out of jail card too, and you send them boys back to where they came. So them boys who was living by the sword die by it and that kind of stuff. I see blood on your hands. Simple thing. I mean, it's a serious thing. Ruby Ray say, Ruby Ray, why you just talk so hardcore and that kind of stuff? It's hardcore, right? It's serious, right? It's serious. How serious it is? Tell them, Super Child.
The blood talk. Ow! Child, a beast to attack in hiding position. What's the explosion? Ambush, y'all my enemy, them. Ambush, me I go get them problem. Ambush, y'all my enemy, them. I go and rock where you find, rip where you sit. It's long time now, this show me king. But they couldn't find while I was in the high bush living. And all this time for shit and overtaking. And I envy little you, but the interconnected the who's got to hear me, but you will be. But right, you know, Jamal is a whole deep part. Giving one soup and for the one code, you will not find him. Dress up in a suit, in a plush coffin. Bring him back, if family screaming. Remember bad boys through in the background laughing. You want to play it on win, but you know worth one thing. Right, you know, Jamal the Magama preaching. Me tell you, ambush, y'all my enemy, them. Ambush, me I go get them problem. Ambush, y'all my enemy, them. I go and rock when you find with them system. Oh wait, I wake the whole place up and shake. Cause this a road boy coming like a earthquake. Cause this a road boy, me no drug, me no fake. When me hit your boom boom, it with a break. Enough for your hard boy, me go and penetrate. You better move on, not take me lightweight. But this Indian and this a Hungary. This Europe to me, me come and take the old trick and tell you body like a lion when they rock. I want chop your beat, you chop your beat, you chop your beat, you chop your beat, and throw your offshore. And watch when you grind in two shots, yo. I know you did. I want take a word talk. I just need the girls know. I made them know. We tell you humble, see all my enemy them. Humble, me I go get them problem. Humble, see all my enemy them. I want rock where you time, break where them system. I want take up your clothes and you to a line tree. Boy, say me got the agony. I go and rub it on with honey, tie you to a answer. Boy, you know I'm merciless. And if you feel your bad, I couldn't care less. Cause I run things and I am the best. And anything chest, it must digest. Listen for the tell I am very good to tell you humble, she have an enemy. Humble, me I go get a problem. Humble, she have an enemy. Them I go rock with your time, with them system, boy. You might die in a little while if you want to tell the girl and super child. Let me tell you, you might die in a little while if you want to tell where you are going now. You better move, oh no take me like it. But this road boy them just a underrated. They tear up for me and me go and take the whole cake. I go and chop your beat, you chop your beat, you chop your beat, you chop your beat, and throw your offshore. Let's do the girls love, I mean them I want to end up into.
As I said, plenty of them boys had charges and things, right? Pending or already in when they do this thing. So a lot of this stuff is autobiographical. Right? Right, so Super Child there with Ambush. And right, so you would say this is dancehall. It's dancehall, I can think, but it's swinging like soca. Like I mean, that's what people understand, right? So shock is a new form, right? It's a new form that he's making. Is a new form, and it's working, right? Nobody caught in two minds about where taking them and that kind of stuff and thing. You're moving, right? You're moving. I mean, everybody moving. You know what I mean? It will have tens of thousands of youth moving mid-year in the national stadium when that never happened before for local music, right? So coming out of their house, paying their money, you know what I mean? So it was happening. The magic was happening. So of course we had Dan It Up. Everybody just played Dan It Up, right? So I can't be like everybody and just play the things that everybody played, right? I mean, but they have a song that in the next batch that came out right a little after that, right? The next batch and thing that came out after that is a tune that people kind of lump in with that other batch because it had the power and that kind of stuff and thing, you know? And it was because of this youth voice, right? The imperiousness of this voice and the power of this thing. And it's like, you want your team to have a heavy hitter, a batsman who you're getting out and stuff for 25 and that kind of stuff, but that 25 is mostly sixes, an occasional 4 and that kind of stuff, and what it is kind of demoralize the next team. You want a heavy hitter like that who Edo Rankin had a voice like that. You know what I mean? Run the track.
Danger. Kanye Austin don't get about the song, but that's the from the hear this, tell people. I'm a big one, man. I'm a big one, crazy. Ain't no Kano, man. Tell him. Yeah, cause ball out to me. Standing on the air, let me see. Yeah, danger. Kanye Austin don't get about the song, but that's the from the hear this, tell people. I'm a big one, man. I'm a big one, crazy. Ain't no Kano, man. Tell him. Yeah, cause ball out to me. Standing on the air, let me see. Yeah, cause ball out to me. Standing on the air, let me see. Everybody want to know what the rockin' clever. When the first time me tune big up on the radio, people say it sound like a Jamaican. Some say cut the rock, some put your one can. But I lie them and tell it a Trinidad John. Me born and grow, give me just change up me tongue. Listen me voice good then don't get me wrong. I'm not cut the rock, nor put your one can. Yeah, cause ball out to me. Standing on the air, let me see. Yeah, cause ball out to me. Standing on the air, let me see. And the music I will got to be serious. Now I don't know what I them no up here, I'm out the edge, I know me can't touch. Let me answer to them, I know me vibe, but them a part in me ears. Talk to me hard, never make me happy. I just make my son feel the reggae music. Never show no regard. Race either wrong, could I get down, but to the emergency alone, they can't fall down. So come along, people, I start saying me song. Yeah, God follow for me. Standing on the air, let me sing. Yeah, God follow for me. Standing on the air, let me sing. Sometimes me get big son frustrated. They don't in a room get interrogated. It's a very loud time when you can't make me wait. When me know me would so fly the gate. When I find the door and showing the enter in a the DJ business. Me here to stay forever. Now me make it, them can't hold me down. Me have the class of the bar about the altar. Yeah, God follow for me. Standing on the air, let me sing. Yeah, God follow for me. Standing on the air, let me sing. And it's a word selector, them take the gate.
One of the geniuses of shock. Now, of course, he had John Afun and Gary Dorr as the two kind of engineer and business management kind of men. They're making decisions as well on his right and left shoulder. But Shock had an ear for hits and an ear for artists who could deliver in a studio and who could deliver performance. And literally hundreds of people would audition to be in the caravan and whatever. And Shock knew, he would listen and he would know like that song is a hit. This person could do it and that kind of stuff. So that was another talent that he had. When I say he had 300 hits, people say, well, I mean, only big artists would go to Shock. That's really not true. Because plenty, if he had 300 hits, it might be because 10,000 people went to Shock. And he tell 9,000 X amount, 700 and what about 700? No. Because if it wasn't there in the song, or the song was there and the artist could not deliver, Shock would not do the song. Shock would say no. He would tone down however much money, he would tone down whatever. He's not doing it. Right? Because he have his standards and he know what is possible to bring that magic into the world. He was clear about that. So clear a lot of people and things felt that, but he real gone against and he don't like me and he don't like people and whatever. But he heard those things. He heard the stuff that was in the future when you just come with the raw thing just singing in the air. He already heard the completed track and knew what was possible and knew that that song, he used to say it to me. I would be present and stuff, and sometimes he would sit in front of the artist. That song is like a mid-level hit, right? It might get some airplay and that kind of thing, and one or two parties who like that kind of thing might play it, but that's not a hit. It's not gonna go across the board. They're not playing in 50 or the 60 parties and that kind of stuff. The people are not going to move to that and whatever. And you would tell people that hardcore, or sometimes you would say, behind and that kind of stuff. And I'm not doing it because I have to retain this gift and give this gift to the things that I have. This gift that I complete genius stuff, or I can take stuff and make it, but I can't take something that cannot be. I can't convert something that's not it into it. I can't make anything into a hit. It have to be there. The DNA have to be there. And that's what I want to work with. And that's why he had 300 plus hits. Because he heard those things and he had standards. And so we went ahead, we listened to Ido and that kind of stuff. But I want to rewind a little bit in the same mood of what Kindred and stuff did. Now, this band would take different meandering turns along its life path and its lifespan and that kind of thing. But when it started, it offered another chamber in the music. And that chamber in music was a slower, groovier form of rap, so more melodic, more singing, those kinds of things. It started to offer the side that is folk and pop, the Andre Tanker side of stuff and that kind of thing. It opened the way to that and it brought it in to the modern age, because that's what Shock was doing at each one of these things that he touched. He was bringing each one of those chambers into the modern age with tones, with the use of rhythm and the use of all these different kinds of stuff. Right? Of course, the group I'm talking about is Homefront, and Ozzy Magic Marique is the lead singer. He'd have different female and one occasion male backup or partners. Mostly behind him as a drummer and Muse sidekick, Kinky Dan, man called Kinky Dan, big up Kinky Dan, and this was the song that brought that other dimension into the music and brought that other music into the modern age. Free Yourself by Homefront. Big up Jillian Moore. You can hear the Andre Tanker.
Generation of the oil boom. Brother, sister. The strongs, no Jamaica stop we, because we taking the lead.
Dig deep inside. You can't frighten what's in your belly. And it's yours.
And it's yours.
So use it. Give yourself a chance. Let your spirit start to dance. Free yourself. So be yourself. Let your spirit start to sing. Start to do your thing. Take a stance. Give yourself a chance.
So boom generation. This power is your own. Don't stand up and wonder. Time to claim the throne. This is the oil spill session. So free up your heart. Just throw away the water. Cause the fire done start.
Give yourself a chance. Let your spirit start to dance.
On the boom generation and the consciousness of that song, that because that song is what kind of that kindred and them delivering the kind of black power coming from the American side, and Ozzy and Jillian delivering a more homegrown kind of indigenous. It's fitting that after that track I should mention this breaking news that Imam Abu Bakr, the head of the head of the Jamaat al-Muslimin and the leader of the coup of 1990 has died. Right, and coming on the heels of what has been going on in Parliament and all these other things, you know, I just say to the boys and them, stay calm. You know, stay calm. You know, serious times. Yassim Abu Bakr has passed on. Let's say, well, may Allah take his soul, may he be granted mercies and stuff. You know? But yeah, super controversial, needless to say. Individual in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, very complex human being, changed the course of the country in many ways. But he is now passed on, and yeah, and given everything that has been happening in the country, you know, it's really in a any number could play kind of really. Any number could play kind of scenario, you know. Again, I tell the boys and them, stay calm. You know, do stuff with integrity. So fitting that the next song is really about you know, Trinidad and its shenanigans, you know. Trinidad leaders and stuff like to dish out. I don't know if they could take, you know, we shouldn't be where we are as a people, you know. I mean, $1 trillion passed in the last 20-something years. We shouldn't even have a middle class, you know. 1.4 million people, $1 trillion. Nah. You know, where that money going? And, you know, theft and waste, corruption, greed, stupidity, ignorance, you know, all could be laid at the feet of political and private sector class. Refusal to listen to people who know better, who telling you what to do with that money. Refusal to transform the lives of working class people and disadvantaged populations. Very unfortunate. So this next song by Kindred kind of fits in that we should drop it at this time. Can you take it?
We come here on a mission and that mission is to jam. People say we slamming, so you know we have to slam. So tell me my name, that's who I am. You still want to test, then face the jolly man. Step into the rhythm and jump up to the jump. You need to test a message that tell you where to come. Harambe is the coup with the truth on the tongue. So just the vibes on the jam and we gon' never lead you wrong. So come and see the way how the rap so man does live. And come and feel the vibe that the jolly man does give. Sometimes you find the truth where you least expect it. So tell me, can you take it? Can you take it? Can you take it? Can you take it?
Jamming them ball, people gather round and ball. Children at the sun ball, hear the drum how it call. When the funky jolly man jamming the vibration, from the heart to the drum to the music station. Best test for the rest, cause you go get fun. Once I flex me tongue, you go lie down, cause the spirit so strong from around the tongue. So just stretch for your brethren and give him one. When I say, where you say, where you say,
your hold just what belong to me. Cause in the cold we just roll back to the history. So beat the drum and make a song, we know they go feel it. I don't know how they lose their head and think they could steal it. But if the small back in your eye when in this lion spit. But the question still remain, can you take it? Can we take it? Yeah, can you take it? Yeah, can you take it? Yeah, 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 can you take it? Yeah, can you take it? Yeah, can you take it? Yeah, yeah, a boy can take it, but then we can't take it. A boy can take it, but then we can't take it. A boy can take it, but then we can't take it. A boy can take it, but then we can't take it.
So the thing is about this track is one of them kind of transition tracks, right? So you heard that first set of shock stuff, raw, rhythm, bass line, and other elements thrown in and that kind of stuff. And so it's very much he's transformed the rhythm of local music, the tones that people are using, the modernity of the approach, and the choice of material, all those kinds of things, completely wiped the state and started a new generation stuff, bam, 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 in the pocket, in the dance hall, bypassing the streets straight to the dance hall. But it's like, what did I just say? Bypassing the streets? Right. This is shock tacking back now. Right? I live in Trinidad and Tobago, but it's also Kindred, Homefront, also doing that same work. Of course, by this time, Brother Resistance, ourselves, Chantwell, my group Chantwell, and a whole crew, we set up the whole Rapso hive. Hundreds of Rapso artists and stuff having initiation, concerts, big concert, breaking new ground concert, the medium in between concert for the modern guns, the big modern guns and that kind of stuff, and the stepstone concerts for the other ones who coming up and that kind of stuff. And people refining the material, they broadening the song and that kind of stuff. Shock also in the lab doing the same thing. All this happens in 1 year, partner. 1 year, all this music transforming and stuff. By 1994, these tracks drop in 1994 and change the music the second time. So the first time is the creation of these new modern chambers for the sound and bringing all these young people and that kind of stuff, bringing in ghetto youths who have cases and that kind of stuff straight into the mix, all this kind of stuff, right into the dance hall, right into the thing in front of tens of thousands of people, songs and stuff and thing starting to be working behind the scenes. He working with Blackmail, he working with that whole crew, Jazz and Marker, Vibes, all of that crew and that kind of stuff for Billboard. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis coming in, using the studio and that kind of stuff. Puffy and them and Rich yet, them 3 years down the road, coming down the road to work on the albums that would make Biggie and Puffy and Locks and all of them big stars and multi-millionaires and eventually billionaires and that kind of stuff. All that is still to come. Right? Caribbean Song Basin, number 3 in the top 3 on planet Earth in terms of studios and song rooms. Right? Big bands coming through using the studio and that kind of stuff. Whilst this stuff happening right there. Then these tracks drop. This changes the trajectory of Trinidad and Tobago carnival music. Now all the time now, Calypsonians and soca men hearing that stuff and they say, well, I want my track to sound like that. I mean, like, why my track, was it like why my track can't sound like that and that kind of stuff. But because the stuff's so different, there was nothing to base that stuff for. So Chuck in 94, along with Homefront and Kindred, gave the new template for soca music. And soca music will never be the same again. The big tunes that would happen for the next 20 years, everything changes when this bomb drops. 4 songs are going to play from that album and that kind of stuff that changes everything. We start off with the biggest one, the one that changes road march music, the storytelling in road march music. It changes the way that people approach power soca, the way that the metaphors and stuff are used in music return and that kind of stuff, the kind of golden age kind of storytelling kind of start to come back inside, the truck metaphors come in and that kind of stuff. 4 years from this, Marshall big truck will arrive, right? But the production, everything changes. I was in Point Fortin, Borody, the year when this track and all this drop on September. I mean, of Carnival was one thing, but Point Borody was to see this truck, this song, what it did. I think this song and Buju's was Buju Big's tune again? It's not Champion. I will remember it. Right, but those two songs neck and neck for that thing in Point. I ran away from my house and my family and that kind of stuff. I lived in Point for about a week during this period. Like, I was like, I went out to perform in Harapso. I went to perform in Harapso show in Point, and I get so caught up in the magic of Point and that kind of stuff until a family adopt me. And for the next week, I lived in Point Fortin, and my family didn't know I was for a week. Like, I knew the whole borough day. Sorry, mom and dad.
Wow. Bad boy.
Yeah, family adopted. I mean, I tell adventures in the bush, walking on pipelines and thing with the oil. Anyway, that's the next thing. Home front, rolling. Magic tune, beginning of the thing. Here the complexity where Shock goes now with the production style and that kind of stuff.
Question. Carnival Monday night and your music truck shut down. What you gonna do? Jump started. Push started. Start, back, rolling! Phantom trailers go to the beat. Midnight fast, the children in the heat. Run to the darkness, live in the street. Grabbing the bumpers, dragging the beat. DJ putting rhythms together. 10-foot truck with 20-foot speaker. Rolling up the road to Savannah. Pulling the children like the pipe.
Something get hot, the trailer stop. Don't get shot, the music cut. People in doubt, they start to pout. And everybody start to shout.
We got to start back.
Rolling.
We start back.
Rolling.
We got to get back.
Rolling. Boy. And it will never be the same again after this.
Question. Carnival Monday night and your music truck shut down. What you gonna do? Jump started. Push started. Start. Back. Rolling! Phantom trailers go to the beat. Midnight fast, the children in the heat. Run to the darkness, live in the street. Grabbing the bumpers, dragging the beat. DJ putting rhythms together. 10-foot truck with 20-foot speaker. Rolling up the road to Savannah. Pulling the children like the pipe.
Something get hot, the trailer stop. Don't get shot, the music cut. People in doubt, they start to pout. And everybody start to shout.
We got to start back.
Rolling.
People start back.
Rolling.
We got to get back.
Rolling.
On the right track.
Rolling.
We got to start back.
Rolling.
People start back.
Rolling.
We got to get back.
Rolling.
On the right track.
Rolling.
So jump.
Started.
Jump.
Jump.
Everybody jump. Push.
Started.
Push.
Golden Age Kaisho poet was imaginary. Direct descendant.
Strong man Jim tell people he able. Jump with wine but he say he's stable. Climb up to the DJ turntable. Tell the Chinese look I have cable. Test the battery, check out the engine, jump at the jam, look rock smiling. Then hit trip on the speaker wire and get up and run away from a beating.
People shout no, the jam must go. We going to show, can go down slow. So hold our end and grab a friend. We go push it till it roll again.
We got to start back.
Rolling.
People start back.
Rolling.
We got to get back.
Rolling.
Throw it.
And on your bumper.
Pull it.
Put your back in it.
Roll it.
Wait in your waist up.
Throw it.
Roll it, roll it, roll it,
We
roll
got to
it.
start back.
Roll it.
People start back.
Roll it.
We got to get back.
Roll it.
On the right track.
Roll it.
We got to start back.
Roll it.
People start back.
Roll it.
We got to get back.
Roll it.
On the right track.
Roll it.
So jump.
One time.
Start it. Start
Don't
it.
stop.
Start it.
Kindred.
Jump. Jump.
Kindred was in the mix too. Hear that? Kindred.
The jam is for you and for me. The jam is for everybody. The rhythm and the jolly man drop. The music now start to come.
The men start to sample.
The jam is for everybody.
Nice one. Super.
The music now start to come. Which right is the right that come from? Which right that
I wouldn't like it. I was a Kindred groupie. Me and some parents used to follow Kindred all over the country to every performance Kindred. I tell you, it's like serious. And we were Kindred groupies. Because what they were doing sonically with their productions and that kind of stuff was out there. You could tell these were men hip hop heads and that kind of stuff. So the kind of attention they used to pay to like the bass kick and the bass, the rumble and all them kind of stuff and the tightness of the snares and all them kind of thing. You could have heard that difference in their stuff and that kind of thing. And then the fact that they were committed to the street too, the carnival street too, and they was moving in that direction. That to us was like, wow, these guys, you know, these next two tunes, starting with this one, and especially one right after, well, the two that are gonna drop right after and stuff was damn. You know what I mean? But when they dropped the Super Blue, the Blue Boy, and saying they left to right and saying, you see like, nah, that's madness. Run it from the top. Top down the net with the iron. Front piece. Now compress.
The jam is for you and for me. The jam is for everybody. The rhythm and the jolly man drop. The music now start to come. The jam is for you and for me. The jam is for everybody. The rhythm and the jolly man drop. The music now start to come. Which right is the right that come from? Which right that has them out of control? Which jam is the jam that the dance on was ram that grab your body and soul and soul. And the drum that is drum show you where you're from. You could run, but you can't hide. You can't hide. If you dance, mama dance, but you never had a chance. Man, you feel it deep inside. The jam is for you and for me. The jam is for everybody. To the rhythm and the jolly man drop. The music now start to come. The jam is for you and for me. The jam is for everybody. To the rhythm and the jolly man drop. The music now start to come.
As a man, just a man, with me and with a pan African. Better understand. Knowledge make the man from me to you to the nation. So come on, everybody, come and
Never lost the Pan-African consciousness and Black power consciousness. It was always there.
You understand?
The jam is for you and for me. The jam is for everybody. To the rhythm and the jolly man drop. The music now start to come. The jam is for you and for me. The jam is for everybody. To the rhythm and the jolly man drop. The music now start to come. When the man gets the man, he come with the plan. You know that.
Then again, next one, the thing about kids, they used to experiment. They were experimenting all the time. Freedom Jam, hear this. Adoption, bringing it to modern age. Hit the base of it. They pull out their raw time and you dance so nice with that.
Freedom jamming hands in the air. Drop some rulings so make that clear. Freedom jamming hands in the air. And if I chant them, we go make it clear. Freedom jamming hands in the air. The rhythm ruling so have no fear. Freedom jamming hands in the air. try to mash up the place so we get the freedom fight ain't finished yet. So like the bamboo after this day we on the march now, so hands in the air. A big drum here that is regime. Who can hear man they bound to feel about the man some man be again. It's a freedom jam we pushing this year. And if they can take the love, don't come. And if they can take the love, just run. And if they can take the love, don't come. And if they can take the love, just run. So like the flambeau and the despair. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. Rap so then so make that clear. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. And the progression then we go make it fair. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. The rhythm ruling, so have no fear. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. The jolly man come with that. Pretenders run from that. The jolly man come with that. Pretenders run from that.
Now we whip back to back. We come back with our next black punch. The city crowd jumping on, kicking tough. The history is stumble on. Upon every hilltop and shanty song, the latter man take a stand and come in strong. So man, why you bother me? Woman, why you bother me? The jolly man stand firm and top us up, commanding the jam from in the front. So if you don't want the love, don't come. And if you can take it, just
so like the flambeau and the despair. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. Rap so then so make that clear. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. And the progression then we go make it fair. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. The rhythm ruling, so have no fear. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. The jolly man come with that. Pretenders run from that. The jolly man come with that. Pretenders run from that. Everybody move, nobody get hurt. We jamming for freedom, for what is good. And when the spirit and the people just come alive. It's the strong alone go survive. So come out with it when we coming down. It's a freedom vibe that could lift you down.
so let's go through and best make way. The voice of culture just break away with fire. The one the pretenders my friend from morning to night and come back again. Taste the love in a culture born, but if they can take the love, don't come.
So like the flambeau and the despair. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. Rap so ruling, so make that clear. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. And the progression then we go make it fair. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. The rhythm ruling, so have no fear. Freedom jamming, hands in the air. Yeah, 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 yeah,
all the experiments and stuff now. They all mean like that. Experiment with the rhythm. You know, marry it now to the, you know, had it to the rhythm section. So it's kind of grown in a different kind of thing, but it still had the hip hop thing and it had the kick and the other stuff and thing and tone and everything. He learning stuff from Ozzy and he learning stuff from Omari and them and stuff. He hearing them and like, okay, like these fellas, you know, call and response, same started same cop, those kinds of things, and he's trying to get more melodic, learning to play more. And it all starting to make sense now in this chamber and the song for this thing called soul music. Blue was last first big that started slow revolution. So only fitting that it started to become so this song with along with the launch. The new rap revolution of take over super big, but the new revolution trend and today goes your way. It is dread. Stop. I will say yeah.
Hey, the band coming down, oh, the whole mass coming down, oh. I hear
cheering, people shouting, and on the head ranting, raving. More! People call, here we come. More! Jolly man call for the drum. This is song to make the whole state fall down. This year on the road and the thing turn wrong. So enter the circle of light, we giving and touch the stand up for light uplifting. Our love for freedom, we celebrating. Vibes to the crowd is hear them sing. More! Get that coming down. More! Come to rule this town. More! Bring it down with them. More! The power in this song. And we burn and we talk and we go bring it down. And we go and we go in the sun. No fuss, no fight, but full of come. And the Lord done rich, come and feel the strong.
It's sun shining bright, we coming down. Straight into the night, we coming strong. 10,000 training, we carry strong. Voices in the air singing the song. Whether in the day, we coming down.
That's illegal right now. I hope you know that. That's like being outside in curfew. You're not supposed to be sitting down doing this program. And you police will come by all and think if catch you just sitting down watching this program and listening to this program. Supposed to be dancing.
Deep down in your belly, things don't reveal. Everything that we can make it right like resistance. Say tonight is the night, so rap on it and let me hear your cry with power so strong they go wonder why.
It's red coming down. Come to rule this town. Bringing down rhythm. The power in this drum. And we burn and we talk and we go bring it down. And we go and we go in the sun. No fuss, no fight, gun full of stuff. And the Lord done reach, come and feel the drum.
It's sun shining bright, we coming down. Straight into the night, we coming strong. 10,000 training, we can't be wrong. Voices in the air singing the song. Whether in the day, we coming down. You can't get out when we coming strong. All them people say they can't be wrong. Voices in the air singing the song.
Feel the boom for the shackles gone. And one thing we never lack in is rhythm. Calypso spirit to the shango drum. So throw your hand in the sky and jump around. Like I say, look the devil, he can kill you. Feel you sit at your feet and don't go astray. You come down to the one, it just start. Till you shut off your back and the worries go fast. Just shake to the song, bring your foot off the gong. Take a trip to the guy where the song belongs. To 2 days in the beat. Life is a bitch. 3, 4, look to be rich now. King Red coming down.
What's that? Intelligence. Shuts up what it is. Going to the man words himself. That my father is Lennox Benjamin, the clerk who dealt with mailing and plane maintenance. My mother is June Benjamin, a stenographer, formerly Burroughs. Because she was sick, she became a housewife. We're now separated. That's a relationship. I came from a solid working class background. I've learned that decisions made out of anger and misinformation lead to bad decisions. People may call me punk, but there's a reason I'm still around. I intended to rep RC, of which I have no bad memories. I then went to Montauk Sect, which was a weird experience. I first came to music, DJ, but God, because my father didn't have a voice. Also, with a pan and pencil, get 98 out of 100 in music therapy. I have the ability to remember keys and songs. I had older friends that were basically about. I was the youngest, so I mostly listened. I was the first place I was introduced to sex, smoking. I can't say this word. However, I plead the son. In life, we are wrong a lot of those things. And most times, it's plead the son. I can vouch for Peter. Most of the time. Right? The advance senior come. I'm going to tell you about something else now. Remember we told earlier about the Toco, Bake Off. The Big Toco Bake Off. Well, it have a new date because it gets even bigger than it was before. Right? So it's like certain friends it get bigger, it gets swollen, the whole thing get bigger, right? Inspector, you have the new date, you have the new dates and everything there.
I have the ad actually.
All right. So let me, as we reach that point where Shock has now evolved to this new thing and changed the music twice, right? Let me pay some bills, and it's the other part of the thing that we're doing because it's one of our projects as well, right? So if you pay that, pay the FM, pay the ads, pay some bills, run everybody thing, and then we come back in the next chapter of Shock. We're gonna do, and put that part series, and next week is more music again. So there we go.
Hashtag 16724. Yes, on November 1st, 2021, we at Radio Toco 106.7 FM celebrating our 24th anniversary of broadcasting. And to commemorate the occasion, we join forces with Indigenous TT to present the Great Toco Bake Off, Saturday, 20th November. You heard it right, the Great Toco Bake Off, where we're showcasing the culinary skills of Lady J, Shawnet, and some of the best bakers on the Northeast Coast. We're talking about black cake, coconut bake, sponge cake, coconut bran bread, sweet bread, tart, banana bread, pole, drops. And wait, that is not all. You could order Empress Gabby's special bacon shack. And the best part of that, you can get to taste all of these big goodness by pre-ordering and curbside pickup on Saturday, 20th November. Plan a road trip, enjoy the picturesque northeastern scenery, be part of the Great Toco Bake Off Saturday 20th November. Hashtag 106724. Radio Toco 106.7 FM celebrating 24 years of broadcasting. For more info and to pre-order, WhatsApp 753-1810 or 797-0949. It's the Great Toco Bake Off Saturday 20th November. Sponsored in part by National Flour Mills, Coconut Growers Association, ATM Media TT, and Z's Cleaning Supplies.
Yeah, man. Right, so you hear it, Toco Bake Off now on the 20th. More stocks coming in and thing, and best Toco cooks and bakers and whatnot coming in this thing. As we say, Sandy Granny, Tamatlot, Mayaro Road, and for the rest of the country, take the North Coast road trip on that day. Pre-order, pick up your order, blow your horn, big up the DJs and the people at the side and that kind of stuff. And with COVID protocols observed and stuff, North Coast, we're bigging up the North Coast, my parental, mother hometown, Toco, Land Snore, father, Sandy Grande, right? So we're bigging up the East, and that kind of stuff, ancestral home, yeah, and that kind of stuff, Great Toco Bake Off, and that kind of stuff, be inside. So right, boy, Shocky boy, we miss you, boy. We miss you. Because you see, at the same time, all this happening here locally with these boys and stuff, anything like that stuff. At the same time, Shock working with Blackmail and all them other crews and that kind of stuff. Vibe, Marker, Jazz, S. Williams, that whole crew, and all this kind of thing. Working on international hits and that kind of stuff, sign with Motown and that kind of stuff. From Motown album mixing stuff, I can think from Motown artists and those kind of things. He was doing those kind of things, and he's sending our wee boy to the Billboard charts, right? With some of the most unlikeliest tunes, 3 times, and that kind of stuff. Sending the man called General Grant, the great survivor, to the Billboard charts. With a string of different songs, I love kind of mix and that kind of stuff, a kind of dance, so kind of mix and that kind of stuff and thing, and then a kind of whole kind of rap, soca, kind of mix up. It's amazing the kind of stuff that Granty hit with during that period and that kind of stuff and thing. And it's really just because of Grant kind of instinctive understanding of the street and shell shock understanding how to complement what Grant was doing, and Grant's phenomenal self-confidence, that like invulnerable, impervious self-confidence. I just believe that no, the thing that I doing right now is the biggest thing right now. It's the biggest. This is the only thing that have happening right now is this. You know, yeah, you and catch on to it yet, but this is the biggest thing right now. Even when International released a song called My Chunkalunks, which you think like somehow got too much in the pocket, but still My Chunkalunks.
And you don't say pretty face. Can you not say let me tell you what I go on to know, because you're not pretty and not too pretty and not living too much of luxury and like too much of gallery. But you know for them, but no for them pretty. But you know how me love for me girl and me but no for them pretty. Look up for me love for me girl and she is my chunkaloo. She every time glamity. My chunkaloo, and she love the granty for she. My chunkaloo, she every time glamity. My chunkaloo, and she love the granty. My chunkaloo, and she love me family. My chunkaloo, she every time glamity. My chunkaloo, and she love the granty. My chunkaloo, and she good in her body. Me woman Lord of mercy, crowd of people. Cause she not too damn pretty. If she pretty, Lord of mercy, it be your misery. Lord of mercy could have fit with the canary. That a woman will me up, she a save me money. Every 2 weeks in the human, she a buy lottery. Sometimes cabbage not to mention celery. This a woman, she a want to cook rice and body. And I she is my chunkalunks. Have I every day of my life? She's my chunkalunks. Must I make the human for me wife? She is my chunkalunks. My chunkalunks, she is my chunkalunks, she is my chunkalunks. Tell them my chunkalunks, she is my chunkalunks. I'm the man who want my chunkalunks, she is my chunkalunks. I am my chunkalunks. My chunkalunks, listen up. My chunkalunks, she is my chunkalunks. I'm the man who want my chunkalunks. My chunkalunks, I'm the man who want my chunkalunks. She is my chunkalunks again. Pretty face never track me. This girl, she always beside me. When I'm down, when I'm so lonely. The little girl, she never did the granty. Dear by me, she signed by me. But you know one of us, I woman, I think she could have cast eye. Also not me. Tell them now that I'm ever life. She is my chunkalunks. Love her every day of my life.
Yeah, Nicky, you're right.
Mine.
This is a love song rap style.
Cause she's my chunkalunks, tight in her body. My chunkalunks, and she have the gravity capital. My chunkalunks, tight in her body. Cause she my chunkalunks, and she is very capital.
Rather stupid rap. I telling you that.
She sweet like honey. My chunkalunks, they will listen to me. She had the time glamity, and she not to hold me. None of them tell me girl how she ugly, but me know none of them because them have to come to me. No like me no girl who tighty. Some girl want me know, can them like gallery. Can know me chunkalunks, she not make me hungry. Lord have mercy every day, she a full up me belly. When me wake up in the morning, she wants to give me tea, and she take off me money. Head a straight and say me, tell me general, I the economy. I you know say this a woman cause she ever like me. I you know cause this a woman educationally. She is my chunkalunks, love her every day of my life. She's my chunkalunks, must have made the woman for me wife. Cause she good in her body, and the time that me but she good on her see how me want for love. She good.
We have Granty starting to have hits. We have people and stuff working with Motown. We have all kind of things going on behind the scenes. We have songs that possibly been licensed and that kind of stuff. And Caribbean Song based on a whole, the Kiskitty Caravan had started to turn part of its operations was dealing strictly with international, in terms of getting Trinidad and Tobago artists to the Billboard charts and signed to international labels, principally Motown with Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and a whole slew of other producers and other things and that kind of stuff, and those kinds of things. And those things were happening. There were deals and things have been inked, and there were those kinds of things happening. Granty had the 3 songs and those kind of things, and there was more on the way, and all of these things. And of course, the fight down, especially when Kindred, Homefront, and them dropped those songs and mash up Carnival, right? When they were not supposed to, when the mafia women control this thing. I mean, we control this thing. Where does stuff come from? They had their lane. You know what I mean? Why they move off the lane and then they're not coming for our lane? You know what I mean? They start to move dread. They start to go after go after the Amar, go after the whole thing, go after CSD and that kind of stuff. And the mafia, and about the mafia abroad, the mafia here is the same kind of thing, right? Other artists and stuff start to try and get in the international mix and that kind of stuff. One is the biggest artist in the diaspora, but who's not had that kind of success on the international scene. This was one of his attempts to do so. It was a minor hit on, I think, some of the hip hop charts and dance charts and that kind of stuff. It wasn't in the top 100 or anything like that. It was a minor hit in those things and on video. It had on videos and that kind of stuff. Right? So Shocky did the remix that kind of swing it back our way and that kind of stuff, because the first thing was kind of cool and kind of flat and that kind of stuff. And he didn't do the original production, but he did the remix and that kind of stuff. You all know the tune called Come Dig It.
Watch this soca time to flow. Hey, and if you're ready to go, I am ready to go. This is the start for the show. Soca ready to flow. Watch. Hey, from the city, what he say, yeah. And let me hear me to the go, what he say, yeah. And let me hear for the New York, what he say, yeah. And let me hear for Canada, what he say, yeah. Raise the hand if you love this drama. Raise the hand if you love this drama. Raise the hand if you love this drama. Raise the hand, you want to do. Let me see you start to bend. 9, let me see you roll you behind. 8, you're low, stand up and wait. 7, time to take it to heaven. 6, let me see you pull out the tricks. 5, make it dance to mark a life. 4, make the man ball out for more. 3, do a dance just like me. 2, no, do a dance like you. 1, let me see you get out and I say 1. Let me see you 1. Let me see you 1. Let me see you get out and club. Let me hear from the city what he say, yeah. And let me hear me New York what he say, yeah. And let me hear me Barbados what he say, yeah. And let me hear me Jamaica what he say, yeah.
193, so Billboard magazine talking about the Shot Call remix, talking about saying it's very innovative and noteworthy, Shocky putting out more stuff. Blackmail was working on the album 94. And 95, so other people start to experiment with Shocky outside of the caravan and stuff. So other musicians and that kind of stuff start to shadow all these other people, and people start to work with Shot, right? Billboard magazine in that year, talk about we love its innovative musical feel. Look out for this producer, shall shock in the future. 95, Billboard magazine say, right? So, Blackmail had the remixes and stuff going on. Mighty Trini doing that kind of stuff. Granty himself in 96 comes into the soca arena with Rev the Engine. Again, the truck and the engine and the stuff from Homefront imagery and that kind of stuff. Denise Belfort, Sonny Man and the Lotela remix with Granty and Denise. You know what I mean? All of that started to happen and thing. LA Crew getting the mix with Helicopter and stuff. There, everybody started, People started think SW Storm come over from London, had a minor hit inside the carnival and stuff, and a big hit in the diaspora, with working with Shocky and that kind of stuff, and this stuff starting to cross over. The sound of soca started to change. In 1 year's time, Rapso will win Soca Monarch, and Rapso, everybody's singing Rapso style, rather Shadow, Ronnie, everybody, Rapso style music and stuff, going through and that kind of stuff all the time and that kind of thing. And Precious, all kinds of people and thing experimenting with shock. 97 is where shock and them take carnival mainstream. And it just, not in a small way, right? Of course, it changes carnival, right? And it's like comes a man, comes a moment, and that kind of stuff, Marshall was, trying to get the international thing and going after the international stuff and thing, but probably his role was to be the muse of the carnival for the modern generation, and to rule the diaspora and not the world, and that the diaspora might prove to be bigger than the world. Listen, the diaspora might prove to be bigger than the world. So the song that after all the experiments at Ecstatic and them were doing, Marshall had that tip where you want to go international, that kind of stuff. But Ecstatic had been doing the homework on the ground. The same way that Shock was doing the production, Marshall and Merle was doing with band. Because the best playing bands for a decade in soca and carnival were the Bajans, Spice and all those. And they had taken the mantle from Trinidad and Tobago comprehensively. Their production, arrangements, sound, everything was much better. Their songs, everything was better. Their singing, harmonies, everything, and that kind of stuff. They were a decade ahead of where soca was and that kind of stuff. All the cliches of the soca bands, the whole 9 yards and that kind of stuff. Ecstatic knew, and all the bands complaining that the problem is the audience and the people and this one and that one and that kind of stuff. And Ecstatic was the only band that said, no, I think the problem might be us. It might be what we're doing, and we no longer modern, and we no longer musical, and we no longer relevant, and we no longer any of them things. And Ecstatic was doing their homework, and they did all kind of experiments and that kind of stuff, and they played in all the thing, and they get boo and they whatever and thing, until they play in all the hardcore venues and the street venues and the public sector effects and the things with the young people and that kind of stuff, until they started to see young people starting to groove to what they was doing. And then they knew, okay, that we're doing something right there and that kind of stuff. And they started writing songs in our pocket, and to give Marshall and Ecstatic their due, right? They did their homework, and the two things met in a perfect conjoined thing. The work that Ozzy and Kindred had done in changing the whole thing had found a vessel in 1997 with a youth called Marshall Montano. And the song was Big Truck, and it would be the song that would bring the youth demographic into the carnival and change the face of Trinidad and Tobago carnival completely. The song for this, as again, it's illegal.
Record 10494, this is a big truck passing.
Yeah. Bang, bang, ding, 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 ding. Bang, bang, ding, ding, ding. What we say? Give it on. Now ride the truck, mama, ride the truck and jump on. I say ride the truck, mama, ride the truck and jump on. Ride the truck, mama, ride the truck and jump on. Ride the truck, mama, ride the truck and jump on. Tuesday morning, children shouting. Hey, from the house they running out. How they want? What they want? How they want? Hey, what they want? Run. When they see the big truck coming down, run. Everybody falling behind and run. Follow the speaker song, badang, badang, bang, bang. Hold on to the big truck, mama. Hold on to the big truck. Hey, jump behind the big truck. Hey, wind behind the big truck. Say, don't let she bounce you down. Don't let she bounce you wrong. Don't let
Footsteps, Lee Rodriguez.
Right?
Canal Blue. That changed the carnival and the demographics for the carnival. The under 35s took over the carnival completely and the Juve completely, and the carnival changed comprehensively. Right? It was bubbling all this time because Amar and them started getting the young people excited in the culture in a way, and these songs were the ones that were able, with critical mass. It took 5 years, and then the floodgates open and that kind of stuff. At the beginning and the middle and the end of that particular movement was Shell Shock, who started the movement of the young people at the beginning, who changed the thing with Kindred and Homefront sonically and spiritually and vibrationally, and then completed the business with Tricanal and Marshall here. For me, it was really the next year with Toro Toro, which is not a shock song, that really Toro Toro was next level, spiritual, amazing. I was in nearly every fest. We was the band who used to do the circle where all of we join hands and stuff, and everybody foot raised off the ground and everybody floating, like spinning around, floating and that kind of stuff, and then forming the things, the circle and the line, you know, the uni and the phallus, the immortal, spiritual, you know what I mean, serious thing, you know what I mean. So the next year with that, but you know, that's a whole next thing, and it's a whole thing about the spirit and the mass and all these kind of things. But all of this is Shock. Shock is the man who prepped the whole thing. None of this happened without Shock. So now, what also starts to happen is that Shock start now to do work for all kind of artists in and around the carnival scene, and then starts to change the sound of Trinidad music with all the different styles that people inside the mass and that kind of stuff, and the groovy stuff in particular and that kind of stuff, start to change the song of the music. So it's not just the power stuff and that kind of stuff. Start to give these other songs that might have been minor things that were just passing the mix and that kind of stuff, give them power and pelf, like this particular song by this artist. Same year as Marshall, eh? The third bass.
Third bass, ooh.
How high? How high? High. So I wanna touch this. I'm feeling, 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 I'm feeling. You make me feel high. You make me feel high. You make me feel high. You have a man, but I have a plan. You say you want to, no matter what you do, I have to get through. You make me feel high, you make me feel high, you make me feel high. You make me feel high, you make me feel high, you make me feel high. The way you just wine, it does go my mind, happen all the time. The way you just sweat, inside of the fat, your life just get wet. You make me feel high, you make me feel high, you make me feel high. You make me feel high, you make me feel high.
It sounded like a real simple soca ditty and made it into a hit, right? Was a kind of lesson in the principles of Shock, and that those principles didn't just depend on certain artists and certain names and that kind of stuff. He began to show that no, it had nothing to do with that. If the bones of your song strong, I could turn it into a hit. I could do that. I have the alchemy I know how to do those things in all these different styles of music. And from the time that happened, so what was happening, this were templates for other producers. So dozens of producers now, the whole sound of soca started to change because everybody abandoned it. That went out the door. That no longer thing, right? That became something that probably the Brooklyn-based producers were doing and whatever. But those who want ground zero here could not do that anymore. Not in the face of what the youth were responding to with shock, right? And so he didn't rest there. He changed the thing with Mark. I started off something at the top when we first started the caravan, where we were doing this stuff that was this rap soul and these hip hop styles and all this kind of stuff, and I feel like there's something there that and he found a partner in who would turn out to be probably the greatest rap soul artist of the next age, you know, someone who was not comfortable just being like a singles artist, you know, I'll release, you know, next song and next 2 songs or whatever. He wanted to be an album artist. He said like, no, I have an album worth of stuff in my head. You can't do that. Yes, I get to youth from over. Where you get money to you know, album. An album is $100,000 to do an album, $150,000 if you want to go full out and that kind of stuff. Where are you? Chinapu get to youth. He said, no. The vision that I have in my head is an album. I'm an album artist. And the songs I hear are part of a bigger story. And I want to tell that story. But before he would do that, he would drop us a couple hints of where he was going, and Shock was there for that ride because he cannot believe in this youth. He said like this youth was seeing sound in the way that he was seeing sound and wanted to experiment with that, because those experiments that started in '92. Now that he had all this sonic kind of more sophisticated grasp of the thing, he wanted somebody who wants to go there with him. So this is like just a tease of where it would go with this song called Spanish Fly. The artist I'm talking about.
I really want to dance with you.
You need to slow down, and that is the truth. Boy, you have to understand. Spanish girl is real hot blood woman. When you hear them horns start to blow, the Spanish woman does lose control.
I remember seeing BSC.
Yes, it
was a fit just the other day. What really get me in a kind of rage is when you dance with Marshall on top the stage. girl, I really want you tonight. Look at how you dance in front of me. That is what the girl does do today. When they see a man, they want to play. They just come and ding-ole.
Pretty boy, you might think I'm a teen, but your heart tell me to
Fanny drop so cast down with the mood. With mood. Like we ain't here a long time in Trinidad and Tobago music. Sex, sensuality, mood, love. You know what I mean? Feeling. You know what I mean? He had us at hello. You know what I mean? And Shocky there painting with that. But the rap so, the hip hop, them experiments that he was doing at the top of the 92 that he wants to get back in. I want an artist who, like how Kindred was pushing and that kind of stuff. Somebody will give me that kind of stuff. First album, Atonomical. Put it up. Start here.
God make that. God
make all the things coming together there.
God make that. All things nice and wonderful. God make that. God make that. God make that.
Everybody in the fete tonight. Put it on, put it on. The vibe is feeling right. Put it on, put it on. Come swing from side to side. Put it on, put it on. Can you feel the love tonight? Put it on, put it on. This carnival, everybody, we go catch it. If you can't dance, well, you know I wouldn't sing it. Drop to with a bang, depend on me to bring it, cause you know what a clan got a jumping spirit. This carnival, everybody, we go catch it. If you can't dance, well, you know I wouldn't sing it. Drop to with a bang, depend on me to bring it. So, we bring me lyrics. People say that carnival is a big gin. Partaking it, you're committing a sin. Some say it is an unholy act, but God in carnival, yes, that is a fact. Cause all the beauty,
God make that.
Creativity,
God make that.
Music from the steel pan,
God make that.
And all the pretty woman,
God make that.
This carnival, everybody go catch it. If you can't dance, well, you know I wouldn't sing it. Rap to it a bang, depend on me to bring it, cause you know what a clan got a jumping spirit. This carnival, everybody we go catch it. If you can't dance, well, you know I wouldn't sing it. Rap to it a bang, depend on me to bring it, cause you know what a clan got a jumping spirit. Everybody in the fete tonight.
Put it on, put it on.
Oh, the vibe is feeling right.
Put it on, put it on.
Come swing from side to side.
Put it on, put it on.
Really love tonight.
Put it on, put it on.
Celebration, revolution, the people call it paganism. Well, I come now just to tell them they know nothing but emancipation to ensure social balance amongst the people who dwell in the land. After pressure we encounter from them politicians. Everybody in the fete tonight.
Put it on, put it on.
Come swing from side to side.
Put it on, put it on.
The vibe is feeling right.
Put it on, put it on.
Can you feel the love tonight?
Put it on, put it on.
This carnival, everybody we go catch it. If you can't dance, well, you know I wouldn't sing it. Rap so with a bang, depend on me to bring it, cause you know what a clan got a jumping spirit. This carnival, everybody we go catch it. If you can't dance, well, you know I wouldn't sing it.
You're gonna hear next week where actors will take and Shocky will take all this and that kind of stuff. But again, at the same time, you couldn't count Kindred out. Kindred was still in the mix. Kindred was still producing stuff that was in the pocket and was still in the airways and stuff, even though the radio stations had instructions and stuff not to play them, all that kind of stuff. So this is a taste of so many things that Kindred was doing, that was still doing things inside the thing and mixing it up with Shocky and that kind of stuff. Hotter than fire.
Warning, warning. This is a warning. Hey girl, what's going on here? She had the one I desire, and that she hotter than fire.
That body was fire. She's so mesmerizing and so hypnotizing that for her any man would walk through fire. She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. Hot like Congo pepper. She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. Hot like Congo pepper. When she a fall. He says now dark and cool. And they up against the wall. She sweet like a melody. All I need is she. And me like a vase. She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. Hot like Congo pepper. She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. Hot like Congo pepper. She hotter than fire. Bring your body come, girl, bring it come. Nighttime sunshine, it can done. Never get a real one like me. Shall chuck when you with the money ride easy. And 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Must get a man, girl, make it in me. Who if I would, I would if I could. She body good, she body good, she body good. So that was fine. She do me mine. One of a kind. She live and baby, how we like a seven. She have it good. You know what
Number was starring in that video.
She hotter than fire. She hotter than fire. I said I got to have fire now. I said I got to have fire now. For the rain is falling. I got to have my lady now. I said I got to have my lady now.
The thing that had shifted the youths into the carnival in 97-98 was Marshall, Wayne Rodriguez's footsteps, Tree Canal. So Tree Canal with Blue and that kind of stuff, which is not a shock production, right? That's Graham Wilson, big up Graham Wilson, out in Canada now, another great producer. You know, Shock did remixes and stuff, they did that album and that kind of stuff. But Tree Canal became a space where Shock started to also use as a band where he could experiment, because the band was interested in those kinds of experiments and that kind of stuff, where he could push the sonic kind of envelope a little bit, and where those experiments would appear in mainstream spaces, sometimes with that same artist or with another vessel that could have contained the new lessons that Shock he had learned. But this is him tinkering in the playground that was Tree Canal. Yeah, man.
This is the sound of the future shock. I program my own computer.
1999, standing on the edge of time, the dawn of a new millennium. Sink yourself into the future shock. Just prepare for whatever, because anything can happen. Carnival is a time to revel and place it to the music, cool airways. Not so fantastic, calypso. You know what the whole world knows.
Rhythm section. So all those kind of things that moving, that's driving with the bass band. This in a bass band. And then the kick drum with all kind of crazy stuff inside there.
Whatsoever shall some say the greatest show on earth, but this ain't no party show. This is a national expose of the state of music. Carnival is a time to release, break away and claim the streets, but claim it. Just break away, claim it. Just break away. Carnival is a time to release, break away and claim the streets, but claim it. Just break away, claim it. Just break away.
Shock is our pan. Is our pan producer? Is our panorama? At Panorama Dancehall producer. Listen to these songs as Panorama song. The tenors and voices and listen to it. Good. Panorama.
Anybody's wicked rhythm, robots again, keep on rolling, mass making, people getting everybody celebrating. Wicked rhythm, robots again, keep on rolling, mass making, people getting everybody celebrating. One in a million is a, 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 one annual celebration, ritual.
If you listen to what he's doing, that's what it is. Remember, he's an East boy, eh? Takarigua, Tuna Puna. You know how much steel bands just in that area, right there, where you say he's from? Shizando thing, Bam Bam, all about the place and stuff and thing is from Europe. Serious thing. Moods and thing there. Final one. And then next week, he still changed the thing twice again, you know. And it's real music. Real music. We didn't even start to touch thing yet. This next song is Shock. It's pure genius. This is Shock playing. And I love this song. Because this song, if we were serious as a country and if people understood what happened when he recorded this truth, this song is like K-pop is Disney. This is young pop music for the ages like 7 to 16. This is music for that demographic and stuff. That K-pop rule that demographic and eating that food from America and nobody can touch that food that K-pop eating and that kind of stuff. This is our kind of answer to that. This is young youth music, girl music, the girl band, and nobody know them. There's no names or any kind of stuff. Is that girl actually the lead is from down in my neighborhood at next Point Kumana girl, right? You know what I mean? So you know, it's a whole crew and that kind of stuff. It's just youths and stuff doing this thing, you know. And Shock takes this song and goes there with it. It's one of the most playful tracks I've ever heard in Trinidad's whole oeuvre of music and that kind of stuff. The playfulness which he dealt with his song and the production and the things that he did with them and their voices and the way that he played with them and that kind of stuff. And you could hear this thing. So Miss Delicia Lewis from Point Kumana and crew, Too Shy in the party, right? Take a walk. I want you to listen to the playfulness of this track. Production style. This is Shock just in a playground playing.
No, this is Too Shy in the party. Delicia, Charlotte and Stacy. When we start the jamming and the music how we jumping, we get that nice feeling that taking till I'm bonding. Tick. Walk. Tonight is the party. Look at everybody getting on the nasty, winding up the body. Watch us get through this very thick and pretty. Showing up that body, taking up the body. Tick. Walk. Walk up your waist, wind up your waist, dip to the left, hand and wrist. Time for we to get on back. Time for we to jam right hard. That body you have, that smile you a give. Time for we to walk up your waist. Walk up your waist. Walk up your waist. When we start jamming and the music how we jumping, we get that nice feeling. Walk. Inside of the party, she went and jam
That little girl kind of.
She started to get on and she shooty and the party, mashing up the party. Tick, 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 tick. Walk, 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 walk. Rock up your waist, wind up your waist, dip to the left, hand in place. Time for me to get on back, everybody. Watch me, watch me, watch me, watch me, watch me, watch me. I want party. Boy, you look so fine. Let me take a wash. And turn and dip and take up your waist. Take up your waist. Take up your waist. Take. Sexing is a motion that I obtain. Watch me body, it is a true train. It's a hardcore wine. The rhythm is fine. Me go show you how my body can tell you the time. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Watch me. Walk up your waist, wind up your waist, dip to the left, hand in place. Time for me to get on back. Time for me to jam my hand. That's why you are here. Time for me to walk up your waist, walk up your waist, walk up your waist. Shine, it's this. Walk up your waist. Watch me. I want party.
That's just. God at play. Shell shock. For this last 2 hours and a little bit, we just wanted to bring to you, starting to talk about the genius of this guy called Sheldon Benjamin Shell Shock, who in his 40 years dropped 300 and something hits on us, changed the shape of the music at least 5 times, and left the world a better place, transformed Trinidad and Tobago, brought a generation into the carnival, changed the demographics of the whole thing, and, released the voices of people who felt that they had none. An amazing individual, complex, difficult, mercurial, all of those things. We talk some more about him next week as we conclude this look at the legacy and stuff of the man they call Shell Shock. So we just started to touch the thing. We showed like at the beginning, and we reached the kind of middle, where we start to see all these things start happening. And next week is where we start to see where he starts to get really sophisticated in terms of the kinds of things where he's doing, where he's, he starts to see spaces and that kind of stuff. He learns his equipment and his instruments better and stuff and that kind of thing. He finds artists who are willing to continue experimenting with him and going, more to say next week. As I say, the country's at a serious crossroads. What went on in Parliament, where it seems like every single institution of governance is being compromised in one way or the other by actors, whether it be judiciary, the politicians, the executive, the police, even the office of the highest office in the land. Everybody seemed to have some kind of cocoa in the sun, all kinds of things playing off. More things, water more than flour, and suppose we'll see how everything play off. And of course, the news that inside all our whole mix, the Imam decided to depart, in the middle of the whole thing. You know, a man who's holding the streets together. And so we're hoping that, you know, good sense prevails and things will fly off the deep end. Any number could play kind of thing right now. So, you know, condolences Fuad and family. You know, it's a human thing as well. The community, you know, David Mohammed and Roxanne and stuff like that. You know, so but you know, it's a serious thing. Serious thing. And so, you know, we wish in Trinidad and Tobago safety, grace, justice, and many other things in the upcoming days, you know, and that we may be able to jump the light fantastic and, you know, reach another better place, you know, closer to the dream of who we should be, Kyrie, you know, and not the other place that we becoming. You know, so Indigenous, you know, we are your place once again for your underground music, Trinidad and Tobago underground music, mainstreaming the local underground, globalizing Trinbago song. I am your boy Ruby D. Victor. Right across from me here is Inspector Selector Krabby, the man himself. You know, it's looking like he fully recovered. You know, I mean, so we're hoping that, you know, you're looking like you're in a gear. You know, so that's a good thing. Of course, in the background we have the boy Karen X, Andre Williams, and that kind of stuff. And you know, always with me spiritually and always inside the mix and stuff with me is co-founder out there, Shell and Manu of Indigenous. Both of us are the Artists Coalition of Trinidad and Tobago. This is an initiative to bring underground Trinidad and Tobago music to you, all the other music that the other 36 radio stations refuse to play. We play that music, and we played for you here at Trinidad and Tobago. We played for the world, right? And you know, so this be signing off from this installment, the first installment of the tribute to Sheldon Shellshock Benjamin. See you next week, Thursday, 9 to 11, right here on the Radio Toco. Big up Radio Toco, Toco Foundation, Spirit of Michael Als. You know, big up Toco, Sandy Grandi, to Toco, to Matlot, the Mayara Road, the whole North Coast and that side. Toco Bake Off, let me close up for the ads, and we see y'all next week.
Hashtag 16724. Yes, on November 1st, 2021, we at Radio Toco 106.7 FM celebrating our 24th anniversary of broadcasting. And to commemorate the occasion, we join forces with Indigenous TT to present the Great Toco Bake Off, Saturday, 20th November. You heard it right, the Great Toco Bake Off, where we're showcasing the culinary skills of Lady J, Shawnet, and some of the best bakers on the Northeast Coast. We're talking about black cake, coconut bake, sponge cake, coconut bran bread, sweet bread, tart, banana bread, pole, drops. And wait, that is not all. You could order Empress Gabby's special bacon shack. And the best part of that, you can get to taste all of these big goodness by pre-ordering and curbside pickup on Saturday, 20th November. Plan a road trip, enjoy the picturesque northeastern scenery, be part of the Great Toco Bake Off Saturday 20th November. Hashtag 106724. Radio Toco 106.7 FM celebrating 24 years of broadcasting. For more info and to pre-order, WhatsApp 753-1810 or 797-0949. It's the Great Toco Bake Off Saturday 20th November. Sponsored in part by National Flour Mills, Coconut Growers Association, ATM Media TT, and Z's Cleaning Supplies.